The Italian Radio Hour is sponsored by Istituto Mondo Italiano.
Mozilo Mattaro, Gattaro,
Buonasera a tutti. Good evening and welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. Io sono Stefano.
E io sono Viviana. Come stai stasera, Stefano?
Non c'è male, non c'è male. E tu, come stai?
Benissimo, benissimo.
All right. Well, we want to welcome back our listeners and we want to welcome any new listeners. And also, we'd like to welcome the listeners that right now are listening to us online at khbradio.com.
E di nuovo benvenuti a tutti i nostri teleascoltatori, ma soltanto ascoltatori perché non c'è televisione. As you know, this program will be both in Italian and English and will feature stories of people that love the Italian culture just like you do. So at some point, if you want to share your story with us, have a business or have a question, email us at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com and we will connect with you.
Perfecto. And be sure to like us on Facebook at The Italian Radio Hour and also on Instagram, again, at The Italian Radio Hour. So, from our last episode, we had Dr. Joseph D'Andrea on, former honorary consular here in Pittsburgh, and he spoke about his coming to America, and he also provided some guidance on how to become a dual citizen, why you would want to become a dual citizen, and, as you immigrated, what are your thoughts?
Yes, actually, the benefits are endless, and, it might be for some for sentimental reasons, but again, I, as a professional, benefited from having the dual passport for great job opportunities. And so that is also something that you can think of for yourself or also for children, and also the ability to go and send them and study in Italy, the university and so forth. Joseph is just, it's a person that's so well respected within our community and such a storyteller. We could have had him for so many hours. And there is one person that I wanted to mention. It was actually his beautiful wife, Gloria, that passed away recently. And she looked like an angel. She was indeed an angel to Joseph. So I wanted to make sure that her name is remembered. I'm
sure he appreciates that. And also, I know that Joseph is quite the historian. And, we only got a limited time on these shows. But right before he was leaving, he started to tell the story of the 1,200 Italian prisoners of war. And this was, they were in Chambersburg, so not too far from here, a few hours from here. And they built the Letterkenny Chapel, and it's still there. So I actually encourage you to go look at that story. But it was actually, I went and read about it this week, and it was actually a very interesting story. So again, in Joseph, he's got a lot of those types of historical, things to talk about. But most importantly is, I've spoken with enough times that history is very important to him, and I encourage you all to go out there and read these things and learn about them. But I think we're getting to the point that most people really care about, and that is solving the trivia. And we actually had a few answers, but there were a couple. I want to kind of call out Janine and Marissa, and I think they were close. I think Marissa might have said, a cavallo donato non si guarda in bocca. Now, is she right?
She's absolutely right. And also Janine, she sent us an email right at 6 p.m. as soon as we turned off the radio,
That's
so to
punctual.
speak. It was amazing her
Bravo.
time. So this expression, a cavallo donato non si guarda in bocca, goes back to a long time ago when people, when purchasing a horse, would inspect their mouth to assess the general health condition of the animal and also the age. So if someone gifted you a horse, you should just say grazie. You shouldn't, it's so when anyone gives you a gift, you just be very appreciative, and that's it.
It might kill over in 2 weeks, but it was free anyways.
It was free. So adesso una piccola pubblicità. Parli italiano?
Do you want to learn, improve, or master your Italian? Istituto Mondo Italiano can help. Located in the heart of Regent Square, Mondo Italiano offers small group classes and 101 private tutoring to help you learn Italian in no time. And I also want to add, those are live or online. So visit us online at www.istitutomondoitaliano.org.
Okay, so we are getting into the nitty-gritty of today's episode. And you know that obviously English is not my first language. So
Me either.
So I do have a little trivia for you. And, today's topic is going to be all about coffee and the coffee culture and someone that is actually synonym of coffee here in the Pittsburgh area. But what does a cup of joe mean? The first time I heard it, I just had no idea what it meant.
Ah, so this goes all the way back to the Secretary of Navy in, I believe, 1913 when Josephus Daniels, he prohibited alcohol aboard Navy vessels, but the result was sailors want to drink, so what do they drink?
Cafe.
There you go. So they considered it was considered a common man's drink, and, it was a common man's name, and obviously from this morphed the term, cup of Joe.
Wonderful. So I think without letting our very special guest hold and wait for us any longer, I would like to introduce to all Sam Patti, the owner and operator of La Prima Espresso. Buonasera Sam, come stai?
Buonasera, io sto bene.
Benissimo. So,
Freddo, ma.
fa freddo, so have more coffee and warm up with a nice cup of warm coffee. Thank you so much you're a super busy man, so thank you so much for making time to have a chat with us about yourself, your business, and some other activities that you're involved in. And the question that maybe that starts that everyone might have, was there a Sam before La Prima Espresso professionally, or is La Prima Espresso your first venture? And was it born the same way that we experience La Prima Espresso today?
Well, La Prima Espresso was born because I needed a job, and so I created a business. But actually, my family in Indiana, Pennsylvania, opened a store. It was called a spaghetti house. They sold spaghetti and hot sausage, and it was called La Prima. And La Prima eventually turned into like a bar room, and upstairs in the bar room there was a spaghetti house. And so when I opened La Prima, there hadn't been any espresso bars recently in Pennsylvania area, in Pittsburgh. Certainly there were in the past espresso places or places you could get espresso. So I figured, okay, seeing how this in this new era is the first espresso bar, I said I think I'll call it La Prima after my family.
Okay, wonderful. So obviously for us, it's thinking about coffee and an espresso bar, and we'll talk about the different conception that we have in Italy about a bar, but judging obviously from your last name, Sam Patti, as I would say, tell us a little bit. Let's backtrack to your connection to Italy.
Well, my grandparents, all four of my grandparents were born in Italy. My mother's family comes from Sicily, and my father's family comes from Calabria. And so, I was always around my aunts and uncles. I have, on my mother's side, 12 aunts and uncles. On my dad's side, 7. Some of them were born in Italy. Some of them were born in the United States. So certainly I grew up hearing dialect and listening to the stories of what it was like to grow up, among that first group of immigrants at the height of the Great Migration in and around 1900. Mm-hmm. Luckily, over the years, when I was a graduate student at Pitt, I got a chance for the first time to go to Italy, and I, unfortunately, my mother's family in Sicily, there's nobody left. Everybody came to America. Mm-hmm. There was nobody left in Italy, but there were 9 cousins that my dad had in Calabria, and so I've kept in touch with them. Mm-hmm. I try to visit every year. We talk on the phone. And I have a very close relationship. I've been to weddings, 18th birthday parties, and such. So it's just nice having that relationship and a place to go to when I go to Italy.
Hey, Sam, let me ask you, where in Calabria? I'm curious, because a lot of folks know the big cities in Italy, but where in Calabria?
Well, the fact is that about 83% of the immigrants actually came from the South. And percentage in terms of population compared to immigration, most people come from Calabria in that particular manner. But it's Amantea. Amantea mm-hmm. Is on the west coast, on the Tyrrhenian Sea, and it's a beach town. Mm-hmm. And so they come from this beach town and also a little village, maybe about 3 miles up into the hills a little bit, called Lago. Mm-hmm. And Amantea is in the province of Cosenza. Mm-hmm. Not far from Catanzaro, but Catanzaro is on the east, on the east coast.
Yes, we'll talk about Calabria a little more. I remember when I was planning my trip, that was a couple of years ago, and you and I had a quick conversation, and obviously based on your expertise and knowledge of Calabria, you suggested that I picked up a book by Karen Haid,
Right.
Calabria, Italy, and that was indeed pretty much, if I could say, my little Bible as far as organizing my my trip. And we're keeping our fingers crossed that we might actually have Karen with us in less than a month. And but yes, and it's just. Calabria has so much to offer because you have the seaside, you have the mountains, you have certain products and flavors that are specifically from that region that people should spend at least a couple of weeks there, not just driving through. So I really appreciated you giving me that recommendation, and I love that trip. Then we'll share some pictures and we'll have a further conversation again with also Karen when she comes on the show.
And Sam, you know, you make that's another thing because Calabria is not as populated. I'm curious because when you, and I'm assuming you go back pretty regularly. How if somebody, let's just say you have the typical American that doesn't speak that much Italian and they're kind of relying on the on the tour guide. How easy is it? I don't want to make this a Calabrian tour show, but I'm curious because that. Everything I see is a beautiful area, and I'm very excited. I'm hoping to go there back soon myself, and I'm curious why don't people go there more often? Why do people go to the main cities? Is it transportation? Is it they just don't know? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I think they don't know. It's certainly not as developed, even though the beaches are beautiful. I guess I've gone through a lot of transitions. There are certainly more of a language barrier than you would have in Rome, Florence, Venice, whatever the case might be. It was a little more difficult when I first went in the late 70s, but now it's as easy as pie. You can leave here tomorrow and have lunch at 3 o'clock in Calabria, because when you get to Rome, you simply go to the domestic part of the airport and you can fly right into Lamezia, which is a small international airport, but it's only about an hour from Rome. So that makes it easy. Before, it used to be probably had to stay overnight in Rome and then get on a train for a 5-hour ride to Calabria. But now, once you get to Rome, once you get on the plane for Calabria, for Lamezia, you only have about an hour's ride. So it's much easier to get to. And, there's just not as much development, which in one way is nice because they've really preserved the naturalness of Calabria. On the other hand, I think economically, tourism even from the United States could be a great boom. And the other thing is that so many people from the United States, as Viviana mentioned, come from that area. So it'd be nice to just put your eyes on where your family came from and where they originated. And besides that, it was only in about 1960 or 1970 that the University of Calabria, which is actually located in Cosenza, started, and it's become an extremely good university right now. They do a lot of great stuff at the university, and that's really enhanced the city. Mm-hmm. And several years ago, it's probably more than 7 years ago, they found the Bronzi, which are famous statues that go back years and years. In the sea, so there's stuff to see. And again, Viviana mentioned, I hope she gets Karen Hayden to come and be a guest. There's lots and lots and lots to see. I mean, literally, Calabria was the vineyard of the Greeks, and so mentioned in Ulysses, Scylla and Charybdis, the smashing rocks.
Mm-hmm. You go to Bova and you still see Greek signs on the street. So it's a Magna Grecia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Magna Grecia. There's lots and lots to see. It's a cuisine that's different. It's Italian, but it has its own. It's kind of like a red sauce place, hot peppers. So it's a wonderful culture. It's a wonderful culture.
Okay, now
I was
do you
gonna
have
say-
your plane ticket ready
I
to
was
go?
gonna say, I'm
Because
ready to
I
go.
am ready. Okay, so well, let's go back to coffee, and so the coffee world can be a little bit intimidating. You have the Marocchino, the shakerato, the corretto, the macchiato, the ristretto, the lungo, the doppio, the decaffeinato. But before we get to the actual coffees, so that we can talk a little bit about the difference about the coffee culture in Italy and in the US. I think the magic of La Prima Espresso is that you have been able to, whether it was done on purpose or by itself, really create that ritrovo, that meeting point, that place that people love to come to catch up, and really you created the experience. You have magically been able to recreate the experience of a bar. There are some technicalities, I would like to hear a little more about maybe your choice of the coffee machines that you use. There is great customer service because we all interact with the barista. They know their customers and what they like to drink, and we know their stories. So let's start with a little bit of the technical aspects, some of the machines that you like, and maybe some of the elements that really make that coffee drink really special for each one of us.
Well, first off, when I opened the store in the Strip, it was actually opened as a working showroom because I started out selling the machines, and so I sell Cimbolese, which is the largest seller of espresso machines in the world, and also Nuovo Simonellis, which are Italian machines. And I actually met the coffee business and the machine business when I was on a visit to Los Angeles. And I kept seeing these machines that had the name Pasquini on them, and Pasquini was a importer of Cimbolese, and they're the ones that kind of set me up in the business. And then I worked through a gentleman in New York who was in charge of and owned sort of the West Coast rights to the machine. So that's the first thing. In terms of atmosphere, I actually grew up in a bar room and lived above the bar room with my family. And so that idea about building a community, my dad's bar was in a college town, but it was basically considered just a neighborhood bar. So I just understood, it was ingrained in me. I lived that experience of being close to the customers, talking to the customers, and building a community. So I think that directly, indirectly, we've been able to build a community. And then, of course, there's the Italian aspect. Being in the Strip District with the other Italian stores like Pennsylvania Macaroni, Jimmy and Nino's, and from my studies of Italian and Italian-American studies, it was just natural to bring in a serious way the Italian-American feel that I think the store has.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you remember, because it's been many, many years, and you're probably one of the people that I have to thank for as my career and Mondo Italiano started to sprout, so to speak. When you had the third space that I think is the popcorn company now. It was empty, so we had this little thing called the Italian Espresso. Come and learn Italian while enjoying your espresso, and you very nicely put that space available to me. People go and get their coffee drinks, and then we would spend the following hour learning Italian, and that was something I still remember. So vividly, and again, so grateful for the experience.
Sure, and of course, for me that was pretty easy because number one, we had the space and we had the coffee. But at the University of Pittsburgh, studying Italian, Circolo Italiano, where kids would go to a coffee shop and sit down and talk and try to recreate that experience of what a bar is in Italy. And so that's just one of the things that we do. Again, that idea of trying to build a community. And I can tell you that through all these years, our direction has, especially in the Strip, it's a little more difficult in some of the other stores. But we sell Italian drinks. So we have some of the American drinks, the chai and some of the frou type of stuff. but in all of our bars, our coffee drinks are Italian-style espresso and cappuccino. And I can tell you that good, bad, or indifferent, when I go into a coffee bar in Pittsburgh or wherever I'm traveling, when I order an espresso, and especially when I order a cappuccino, I never know what I'm going to get. In the strip at La Prima, when you walk in and order an espresso or a cappuccino, you're going to get something that resembles what you would get in Italy.
And that's a good kind of a point I wanted to ask you about. You know, coffee is, I don't want to say it's an oversaturated, but it kind of is. But you kind of keyed on something important. I can go to a lot of places and get a coffee. But, I mean, obviously there's something unique about La Prima. If you were going to put your finger on it and say, listen, I know there's a lot of coffee shops, and I'll tell you why I'm not worried. And again, I don't want to give away Sam's secret sauce here, but I'm just curious, what is it that you say, this is why we're going to be here, 50 years from now, God willing?
Well, I am worried, but, it's kind of interesting. There was a point maybe about 15 years ago when, espresso cappuccino was bursting at the seams and really became popular in the United States, because it kind of started with Starbucks and other places open up and independent coffee shops. But the Italians said, gee, we have this product, and people are making this product all over the world, like they've kind of done with trying to certify pizza or pizza napolitano, so something like that. So the Italians literally have an organization called Espresso Italiano, and the idea is to put a recipe together exactly what is an espresso. An espresso is 7 grams of coffee brewed to 1 ounce in 25 seconds. That's not what you usually get when you order an espresso, but in terms of Espresso Italiano, that's what it is. And the cappuccino is that espresso in about a 6-ounce cup. So they defined that, like they tried to protect champagne or Parmigiano, to at least make it. One of our espressos, the one that I always drink, is called I've called a DOC, a DOC, so that people understand this is what you would get if you were in Italy. To put a name on it, espresso Italian, and that's what we try to do.
And for the listeners, he did not just give the formula for Coke away. These are known.
No.
This is all about being able to do it. And I think, and I think that's where you guys are obviously effective.
So another thing that is part of, the ambiance, the atmosphere, and the experience is indeed a bunch of guys playing cards, and that everyone, whether people know them or not, have become accustomed to see them playing. And when I was back home, and home is Rome for me, and I was at Bar Callisto enjoying my maritozzo, here was a bunch of guys playing cards, and they get really animated and upset at one another if, you take too long or you're not playing the card you're supposed to. And in Italy, they were using a little saltier language, and really, I've seen a scene of that one guy walking away from the rest of the group. Any other, can you tell us any cute stories or any memorable stories with customers or anything that you want to share with us?
I can tell you that your experience in Italy is the same as my experience at La Prima. You literally cannot talk to those guys when they're playing cards. If you want to have a conversation, they're not looking up from their cards. We have people walking away. They get mad at each other and don't talk. One guy won't talk to another guy, for a couple of days. It's really quite interesting, and they're not even playing for money. So this is a serious endeavor.
Can I tell you that I actually beat one of them, but I will not disclose the name?
No, don't do that.
I don't want to start another world conflict.
And I must tell you that certainly one of the aspects of the card playing is it's just part and parcel of La Prima. When people mention La Prima, it's a lot of time. Well, that's where those old guys are always playing cards. So it's kind of an interesting atmosphere.
Okay, so Sam, let me get a cup of coffee here. We have a little commercial break. We'll be right back with you.
Applying for dual citizenship? Need documents translated? Istituto Mondo Italiano provides certified translation and interpretive services in 20 different languages. Be sure to visit us at istitutomondoitaliano.org. Rizzo's Malabar Inn is an Italian restaurant located in Crabtree, PA. It has been owned and operated by the DeFabo family through 5 generations. Since opening in 1935, Rizzo's has become a renowned local landmark of Westmoreland County. Along with a restaurant, banquet, and wedding venue, they are also a full-service catering business. In addition, Rizzo's Malabar Inn operates a successful line of Italian retail products, including homemade jarred pasta sauce, frozen pastas, and soups such as gnocchi, cavatelli, ravioli, wedding soup, and pasta fagioli. Look for these Rizzo's Malabar Inn products and more in your local grocery store.
Okay, Sam, so I was wondering, has anyone ever left a caffè sospeso at La Prima? And maybe we can elaborate what a caffè sospeso is for our listeners.
Sospeso means suspended coffee, so that basically if you went to a bar, they would have post-its, and it would be a coffee for a policeman, a coffee for a veteran, a coffee for a young lady who's pregnant, whatever the case might be. And can I tell you, I've been thinking about doing this for years, and I know that my wife was always saying, when are you going to do that? We talk about this, it's a good idea. So, let's say a veteran would come in, and you would say he orders a coffee and say, that coffee's already paid for. So it's a great idea. I don't know why I haven't been able to pull the string on this, but it's certainly something that we want to do, and it's really a nice gesture. And you could, if you sat down and thought about the different categories you could write on post-its, it would be amazing. A coffee for somebody from Germany, because sometimes we have we have tours from Germany or Italy or whatever the case might be.
Indeed, because we can attribute or we can trace back this gesture of the caffè sospeso, the kind of one coffee is already being paid for by anonymous someone else from the post World War II in Naples, where the devastation and everything. So the only pleasure the Italians still had at the Neapolitans was a coffee. So to make sure that everyone could still enjoy that little luxury, so to speak, they started to indeed have this caffè sospeso, so that whoever couldn't afford it anymore on their own could still ask for it. In addition, do you want just to mention the locations that you have? And then I would like to spend 2 seconds, well, maybe 2 minutes talking about La Torrefazione.
Okay, yeah. We're located in the Strip at 205 21st Strip, and also in the Strip down at the very corner of 1100 Smallman Street, near the AC Hotel. And then we have 2 locations at Carnegie Mellon, Wien Hall and Gates Hall. And then we have our Torrefazione, which is located in Manchester on Chateau Street.
Yes, and one of the last times, I think we had a group with Mondo Italiano. We came and visited the roaster, and you gave us a very nice tour of it, and it is so interesting because, again, we enjoyed the end result of a very long process. So can you tell us a little more about roasting coffee, or if you have special blends or anything that can help the audience understand and appreciate even more what it goes to make a good cup of coffee?
Well, I mean, it's really a pretty simple process. Think of a clothes dryer. You put the beans in a clothes dryer. It spins around. There's heat. In coffee beans, which are green, which is actually the seed of a fruit. There's a little cherry on the coffee tree, and the seed inside that is what is your coffee beans. But like anything that's simple, like frying eggs, frying a steak, it's very sophisticated inside that simplicity. And so, we roast our coffee, and what we like to do more than anything else is make blends, because those become secret recipes. So we all know about the single origin Colombian, Kenyan, Guatemalan, Brazilian, whatever the case. But the fun comes when you say, okay, I'm going to put these 2, 3, 4 coffees together and create a new taste. So that's what we really like to do. And luckily, it's pretty impossible to reverse engineer coffee to see, to put it under a microscope and say, oh, this coffee is these 3 coffees. That's what we do. That's a big part of what we do, and it's a lot of fun, a lot of satisfaction.
Anything seasonal that La Prima offers only in certain types of the year?
I can tell you that in October, which is our anniversary, we put out La Prima Bar, which is our original and the coffee we carry in the strip right now, our espresso. We put that out and call it La Prima Bar Reserve. We try to, maybe make sure that we, can maybe find something a little different to add to it. And probably most popular right now is our Bon Natale blend that we put out at Christmas. And we sell a lot of it. The coffee's good. It's different every year. We just try to find, something that we think will be enjoyable. And I think we sell it because it's special. It's only at a certain time of the year, but it has a great label. So I don't know if it's the label, the coffee, the time of the year, whatever the case. But and we put out specials on a regular basis. But Bon Natale is really a popular blend.
Sim, you said it was easy to dry. You said the process isn't hard. But the interesting thing is, and I'm telling you, I've drinking coffee all over the world, and all coffee is not created equal. And I guess that's the $64,000 question is why I can go to one place and it's very good, and I go to a gas station, you're like, oh my God, what is this? So I mean, that I guess is the secret sauce that you're saying. Hey, this is what we're doing something different. I mean, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would, and I think it's a matter of obviously starting with good beans and having a barista that understands the process. This is the analogy that I use all the time when I give that little presentation, and unfortunately, we haven't gotten back to inviting people for little roast tours because of COVID, and we certainly want to get back to that. Isn't it funny, like in every household, there's somebody that can grill, and there are other people in the same household that can't grill. And sometimes the wife might be an excellent cook, but she can't grill. It's
genetics.
There is the art and the science, and there's the knack to doing this. And so I think that you have to have the knack. And we've been fortunate enough to have really good people working as our roasters that have the knack. And that's certainly what we look for.
Yes, and I remember talking about a good cup of coffee. My nonno used to use the 3 S's, which in Italian will make sense. In English, I'll try. One was the one S was sorseggiando, so sipping it, scottandosi la lingua, so just scalding your tongue just a little bit, and stando seduto, and sitting down. So these were his 3 S's. So we're going to, whenever the situation allows us to come back to La Torrefazione, we'll make sure that we have an Italian Radio Hour tour with Sam Patti, if we can steal some of your time. And you know that I do have a strong desire at some point to come and learn how to make or pour a good cappuccino. I wouldn't say perfect because it will take a lot of experience, but I'm kind of just inviting myself. I do have.
We'd love to. We would love to do that. But you do have to keep in mind, to get good, to be an expert in something, you have to do it 10,000 times. So.
Okay, so I will leave all these cappuccinos suspended so that no one had. I will pay for them, but no one else. So they'll be my guinea pigs. So
there you go.
Yes. So by the way, we are opening the phone lines. So if anyone has any questions for Sam, we still have a couple ourselves. The phone number to dial is 412-825-6262. So one more time, if you want to join in the conversation, the number to dial is 412-825-6262. Now, before we get to the caller, I know, because probably it might be another coffee question, but you're also, I wanted to touch one topic. You're also the president of the Fund for Italian Diaspora Studies. And can you tell us a little bit about this initiative, how you got involved, or how people can support it?
Well, I can tell you that I have been involved in Italian American Studies since 1976, which is about 45 years. When I went to school at Pitt for Italian, one of the reasons I decided to study Italian was because I was interested in Italian American Studies, the process of immigration, and I just felt like that if I didn't know the language well enough, I would just come to a point where I reached a blockade. So I needed to know the language. And And I don't know, exactly how this happened, but I remember I was teaching at North Catholic. I was teaching English, and it was the year of the 200th anniversary of the United States, and there was a lot of information out there. Pitt had a little consortium of ethnic studies because there was a sense of ethnic renewal. People got curious about where they came from. And I just thought about my grandparents, and I thought about all the opportunities that I had that my parents didn't have, and certainly my grandparents didn't have. I mean, my grandparents, like most of the immigrants of that period, were illiterate, but they weren't dumb. They were very smart. They were very resourceful people. And so I thought, I am standing on the shoulders of somebody, and we have to realize that where we come from, what we accomplish is, in fact, part of who we are. But there are a lot of other people involved in that. And, whether it's a matter of skills, talents, luck, whatever the case might be, we shouldn't think that we're so great that somebody has given us opportunity. And, in fact, why would you leave your homeland? Why would you leave your parents? And when the people at the turn of the century left their parents, there's a good chance that they're never going to see them again. What would motivate somebody or give somebody the courage to do that? And I think it's simply a matter of opportunity for a better life. And so I think that we really need to show a little gratitude for that. And so that explains my involvement in Italian American Studies. And as far as the program in Calabria, it's actually at the University of Calabria.
Unical.
This, Italian American Studies. I don't want to say that diaspora studies is new, but Italian American Studies is really part of Italian diaspora, because not only there are at least 16 countries that Italians are easily found in some kind of a significant way. They're all over the world, and so we're part of that. And so the University of Calabria actually started the first program at a public university devoted to diaspora studies, and specifically at the University of Calabria, a course called CLIA, Cultura, Letteratura Italo-Americano, where they're taught their language students, kids that were studying language, and a way to get inside the language. Why don't we study Italian culture outside of Italy in the United States where they speak English? And so it matched their language studies. So they began this course. And when they began this course, the primary teacher would teach the course, but she would also invite 4 or 5 different Americans to come and teach about Italian American culture, because that would broaden the possibilities. And so I met this woman. She invited me, and I was actually the first teacher to go there and teach. I went there and taught for 2 weeks for 4 years, starting in 2014. And we decided to put together a program, start a foundation. The purpose of the foundation is to support, and this is a big deal, the fact that they have a Fulbright scholar that now comes and teaches. So, having a Fulbright associated with the university is a great thing. And so we raised money to support the Fulbright.
Okay, so I'll make sure to get the link. I'm sure there's either a GoFund or some other page that I can link to the recording of this episode, so that anyone that would like to donate and contribute to this great program can definitely do so. So we have a very patient caller, because he or she, we don't know, has been on hold for a few minutes. Let's bring this person on.
Hello?
Hello, who do we have on the line?
My name is Lou.
Hi, Lou. Welcome. Thank you for calling.
My pleasure. And I wanted to ask Sam where I can get his coffee here in New Jersey.
Lou, I can tell you that we have absolutely a wonderful website that has a shop on it, and we send coffee every week. It's a pretty active website, so you can buy it right online.
We are passionate.
Laprima.com.
Thank you very much. And we are very passionate fans of your coffee. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for calling all the way from New Jersey.
Fantastic.
Okay, so well, I do have. What time is it? I think this conversation could go on, but I'm curious. A lot of people, when they come and get their coffee, they always read the proverb on the board.
Absolutely.
I don't know what was today's, but it is something that people definitely enjoy. How long it's been going on, or how did you get this idea?
Almost from the very beginning. Look, I was an English major as an undergraduate, so I really like language. I love proverbs. And, of course, if you study Italian literature, and especially Verga, and he talks about Sicilian society, and one of the, from his perspective, one of the ways that they maintained their culture and their patterns of behavior was through proverbs. And so I just go, I have a book of Italian proverbs, several books of Italian proverbs. So I try to pick something that people will understand, that have a basic understanding of the language, and that maybe is germane to what's going on in the world. And it's really been a lot of fun.
It is. I can tell you because our students, either take a picture and we have different groups on WhatsApp, and they, either decipher it or they might ask for a little bit of help. So it's always, that's why we have also the language trivia in our program, because it gets people to it gets them in contact with the language, and some expressions are so unique, and the proverbs you always put out makes always so much sense. I mean, it's just like, it's that common sense that of the old world common sense that I just love them.
Hey, Sam, you said something really interesting. So did you study English as well? Like, did you actually train in English?
Yeah, I was in secondary education English as an undergraduate. So to study Italian, and then good, bad, or indifferent, when you study Italian literature.
Well, it's funny you said, because since I started studying Italian, what I've learned is I don't know English, and it's funny because I see that at a lot of the students, and you're wording these. Well, you would do this in English. I say I would never do that in English, and I'm curious because you did the formal. You formally trained in English. You didn't speak, the regular, the daily parlance that we speak. And then you went and learned Italian. I'm curious, well, how did that translate? Was that easy for you to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess people, just have different, skills, and that happened to be a skill set, being able to read and work with that kind of stuff that came natural to me.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Looks like we might have another caller.
Yes, we have someone else that wants to talk to Sam. Hello, who do we have here?
Hi, my name's Anthony. I'm calling from Southside here in Pittsburgh.
Hi, Anthony. Welcome to the Italian Radio Hour. What's your question or comment for Sam?
Just a comment for Sam. I just want to tell him that, I've been to La Prima many times, and I'm a big fan, and, probably going to stop by this weekend to grab a cup of coffee. So anybody out there listening who hasn't had it before, definitely go out to La Prima. It's probably the best cup of coffee in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And thank you very much, Anthony. We really appreciate it. I'm sure Sam.
He wants to hear that. Please call in and tell him he's great. That's fantastic. Thank you.
I do have to come and see you, Sam, because I actually make these coffee bean cookies that I want to bring to you so that you can tell me what you think about them. And yes,
sure.
yeah, they're cute. Yeah, they look like coffee beans, but they're actually cookies for you to enjoy. So okay, so we are moving on towards the end of our show. It's been a wonderful conversation, Sam. I'm sure, again, you are one of those guests that we could be going on and on and on. Is there something else that you would like to share with the audience?
Well, you know what? I can paraphrase the proverb for this week, so this will be a little test.
Mm-hmm.
Quando c'è desiderio, il lavoro è leggero. And it's Leggiro. And these are the problems I go through. It's probably a dialect word. So, quando c'è desiderio, il lavoro è leggero.
Yeah, so whenever there is your will and you're passionate about something, even work feels a little lighter. So you don't feel that you're working, like you're so passionate about your work that it doesn't feel like work.
So Sam, now when I'm down there, and I just learned something. So when I'm down there getting my coffee and I read the board and I go, I don't know what that means, I can blame it on the dialect, correct?
No.
It's
Yeah,
not-
well, that, yeah, sure.
Or the subjunctive.
That's
Or the imperative.
Yeah, right.
No,
Absolutely.
I need an excuse because I can. It's funny because you see those and you see the words and you're like, I know what it says, but I don't know what it means. And a good example is the one we had this week. Caval Donato. You say, okay, you get the words and you have to really think about it. So that's pretty funny. But again, we want to thank you once again for being on the show. We're not going to turn it into a Prima Coffee Love Fest, but I'm not going to lie. I too like the coffee. I go down there and drink it. I consider myself a coffee aficionado. I go a lot of places and drink the coffee. I do like the authenticity of it. As much as I try and make an espresso at home, if it makes you feel better, it does not taste like yours or a cappuccino.
I'm a Sam aficionado. As I said, it's one of the, you meet so many people in life, and especially when you're not from, a place, whether it's a city or the country itself, when you encounter someone that helps others in a very selfless way, you remember that. And so I wanted to share my biggest grazie di cuore for, sorry, I'm getting teary. I would not have I would never have imagined that. But as I said, you represent a lot, Sam, to all of
Well,
us.
thank you so much. That's very heartwarming. It's very heartwarming. And that's what we want to do. We want to build a community. Because the bars are important. I mean, they're important in Italy, and they become important in the United States. That third great place, someplace you can go to and talk to people and get comforted, relax. And coffee is absolutely the proper drink to do that.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you, Sam. We do appreciate the time, and I do look forward to saying hello when
Sam.
I'm back down there. We'll
Absolutely. Be down there. Ok, buona serata, Sam. Grazie di tutto.
Buonasera a voi. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao.
All right. Well, Viviana, looks like our hour is rapidly closing. We're almost there.
Di nuovo il Big Ben ha detto stop.
We're going to have, it's almost there. But again, almost time for us to say arrivederci e alla prossima. And again, I want to thank you all for listening. We want to thank our guest, Sam Patti, owner of La Prima Coffee here in Pittsburgh. But again, if you haven't kind of figured out one of the themes of this show, besides kind of celebrating the Italian culture, Italian language, and kind of learning a lot of things. And over time, you're going to realize the impact that a lot of, immigrants that came to this country over many years have made on this country. And again, as having, us having family from Italy, having come here, I'm immigrated here, or Viviana's the first generation, I'm third. And, meet these people and they just want to celebrate their culture and be proud of it. And we want you to celebrate that. And that's why we want you to join us. And we know that you probably have a story to tell. And that story could be, how did you arrive in this country? How did your family come here? How did your grandparents, maybe your great-grandparents? But everybody has a story. Everybody has a journey. Everybody came here. And Sam made a good point. When these people left 100 years ago, 120 years ago, they didn't know, one, where were they going? They didn't know if they would see their family again. They didn't know if they would go back. Would they talk to them? I can tell you from my personal experience through my research that when I learned that I had family there, we didn't know that. To find fairly close relatives and go, wow, these people are still alive. They're still in the same town. So a lot of that gets lost. So we encourage you to go research your history. Go find out about your family. Go find that story because we know you have one. And then when you find it, share it with us. Send us an email. Hey, if it's really something out there, we'd love to have you on the show. We're always interested to have guests on here that have a story to tell, and we want to hear that. So if you have something you would like to share with us, or maybe you just want to sponsor an episode, maybe you're just saying, hey, I like what you guys are doing, and I want to get involved, send us an email at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. Again, that's the Italian Radio Hour at gmail.com. And we'd love to hear from you. But before we leave, Viviana, as always, we have our guests lined up. Who is going to be our guest next week?
Okay, so as I said, I want to first say something regarding the stories. For the, so to speak, Valentine's episode, although it's not going to fall exactly on the same day, I'm actually looking for love stories. So it could be current love stories from the past. Maybe people have been married 50 years, so maybe it's a young couple that she was Italian, he was American, and 20 years later, 3 children later, 2 dogs later. So just again, that will be what I'm looking for, and you can also send us an email at the Italian Radio Hour at gmail.com. But as far as next week, so you move to a country. And another thing that you have to deal with is indeed money, and how not only how to make it, but also how to preserve it, how to invest it, how to grow it, how to create that security, that financial security that is going to allow you to go through this new life in a safe way. So we will have the founder president of the Fragasso Financial Group, Robert Fragasso, and we will also talk about his involvement in volunteering and giving back to the community. And if you remember when we had the Italian Women Group USA, one of the things that Francesca was saying that she would like to get the group involved in is some volunteering. And I think what Robert, I would say Bob Fragasso, because I've known him for quite some time, might give us is indeed an opportunity to do something really nice and neat. So this is it as far as, it's going to be a very nice conversation.
Again, that's that whole importance of getting involved, getting integrated, and you can become more comfortable in your surroundings, and you learn how your surroundings work.
So indeed. And again, just a reminder for those who might have missed today's episode, you can always find previous episodes at on the website istitutomondoitaliano.org. There is a tab that's called the Italian Radio Hour. You will see our previous interviews and a little bit about ourselves and our sponsors. And at this point, I just would like to thank our guest again, Sam PATTI, our sponsors, Istituto Mondo Italiano and Rizzo's Malabar Inn, and Alla Buora for the beautiful music that we have opening and closing our show. So, before we leave, and here is the language trivia of the week. So, if someone wishes you, in bocca al lupo, what should you answer? One more time, if someone wishes you, in bocca al lupo, what should you answer? Be the first one, or the many,
that's right,
to send us an email at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com.
E vi ringraziamo per la risposta from last week's trivia. Again, we enjoy reading your answers, and until we're syndicated on 1,000 stations all over the world, we are reading your emails. So please send us your emails again at theitalianradiohour@gmail.com. If you're not in the Pittsburgh area, or you might be traveling, remember you can catch us streaming live at khbradio.com every Thursday at 5 p.m. And be sure to like us on Facebook at the Italian Radio Hour. Until next time, alla prossima.
Ciao, ciao.
Ci sta cenogarafu la dorma e curerami con magia la via. Ancora non è vero, spomina tu. Non ci leva all'amorosa mia. Pa, pa, ta, ta, ta.
The Italian Radio Hour has been sponsored by Istituto Mondo Italiano.